Live there. Now let's hit it. Oh, see, of course. Y'all, I told y'all YouTube want to be acting crazy sometimes. Well, this time we're just gonna go live and hit it for Instagram. Hey TikTok, welcome to Faith and Politics with me, Eileen. Hey y'all, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Faith and Politics with me, Eileen. We are here on, what is today? It is Tuesday. What is the 25th? I didn't even know the date, y'all. It is Tuesday, the 25th of November. We are in New Orleans, Louisiana. We have a lot going on in politics today, and so we will have a very interesting show for you. In episode 38, it was named Transition. I'm going to delve into kind of the spiritual transitions taking place in New Orleans that you see. Everybody's like, why is all of this going on in New Orleans? Like, what is the deal? So I'm going to break it down and kind of really let you know what's happening. And the cleanse is here. It really is. And this includes family, friends, churches, politics, business systems from top to bottom. You can't take your past into your future. And so the cleanse is here for New Orleans on every level. It will be uncomfortable for many people, but it is what it is. Our opinions really don't matter. And so we need to walk it, and we need to let go of the past, because if we don't, it's really just going to be harmful for us. But we are here on November 25th, Tuesday, and I'm really excited. We're in New Orleans, and we have a fun show for you. Before we jump into the full show, I just want to let you know that Faith in Politics, I did write a book for y'all. I'm excited because I'm giving away the ebook for free during a 5-day period starting on Black Friday. So November 28th through December 2nd. So that's Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Sunday, Cyber Monday, and then Giving Tuesday. We're going to be giving away the ebook for free. So if you have a Kindle, this is your time. You can go on Amazon and you can download the ebook for free. So that is my gift to each and every one of you. Everybody's trying to get you to buy something, and I'm trying to give it away. I'm trying to give away some New Orleans information, because when we can referee from afar and we know the rules of the game, we're stronger New Orleans. So I encourage you to go get the book. You can download the PDF for free. If you go there right in my IG, you can hit the little under the bio link. I have the PDF for free, but if you want it free on your Kindle, it's generally $9.99. But if you want it free, now's the time. So from November 28th through December 2nd, the ebook is going to be free on Kindle. So go check it out and get it and share it with all your family and friends, and let everybody know that it will be free. If you do, we are going to have a December meetup coming soon. It depends on, what everybody's really interested in. I'm kind of getting their 2 cents. So I'll let you know. It'll probably be the second week, because a lot of people have a lot of stuff going on the first week. So if you are interested in coming to our meetup and you want to get the book, please pre-order from me so I can make sure that I have your book there. You can pre-order from me for $15 on Cash App, and it is Cash App $ Faith and Politics, and it has a little purple emblem right here. So if you want to have the book for the meetup, you can do that by Cash Apping me $15. It's really that easy. As well, if you want to get in contact with us, you can get in faithinpolitics504@gmail.com. That is faithinpolitics504@gmail.com. And of course, you can always call us Monday through Friday, 9 to 4. That is 504-434-2827. That is 504-434-2827. And so we have a great show for you. I'm really excited about it. Oh, and if you've ever missed a show, because this is episode 38, if you've ever missed a show 1 through 37, you can catch us online at Apple, YouTube, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Music, Podbean, Player FM, Listen Notes, Podchaser, and Boomplay. So if you're interested in sponsoring partner community solutions, just DM me. I want to hear it, especially with our spiritual takeover, and I'm about to get into that really quickly. So if you follow me on any of my social platforms, you will see that I've been walking around the city. You're like, what is she doing? I'm claiming it for the Lord. I'm claiming it for us, because there's so much that goes on in our neighborhoods. And the Lord said, if you want to take back your block, we can do it spiritually. And so I tried this out. This was a couple years ago when there was a lot of car break-ins. And I was like, God, what is going on with the neighborhood? And he's like, I gave you dominion. What you going to do about it? And I was like, okay, bet. Like, just ask for instructions. So I started walking my block and praying, and we haven't had another car break in around here since. And we've had a really peaceful neighborhood. And so I offer that to you. I feel like we can just do it in a bigger manner and take back our block. It's crazy because when I was preparing for the show, the Lord had me go back to the first prophecy He had me release for the city of New Orleans. And to be perfectly honest, I really didn't want to do it. And that's just the truth. Giving out prophecies is not, at the top of the list that most people want to do, especially for a city of this nature. We are known for warfare and witchcraft. And so when He called me to do this, I was like, oh God, I don't want to go out there looking like Noah. And He said, I'm going to throw you out there looking like Noah. And so that's exactly what He had me do. And if you follow me on our at Faith and Politics Today on IG, I actually have it pinned, the prophecy from it's August 7th, 2022. So this prophecy was before the recall even happened. This prophecy was before I even knew I was doing the recall. That's the crazy part about it, to go back and listen. And the things that He released in that prophecy are like happening now. Some of them have already happened and some of them are happening now. So it's really crazy because when you walk with the Lord and He gives you information, like, you only prophesy in part. So you're watching it play out the same way other people are watching it play out, because He'll give you a word, but you don't necessarily know how it's going to happen. So I'm just sitting back like, oh my gosh, He said it was going to be a 3-part cycle. I really thought it was going to be 3 years, but it's not. It's like 3 seasons. So it's judgment, cleanse, and revival. And the seasons depend on our obedience. And so, like the prophet Elijah, he came with correction. And so that's the information that I deliver a correction. A lot of people don't like it. It is what it is, but I'm not here with people's opinion. I'm here to do what the Lord required me to do, and I don't go back and forth. I deliver it, and the Lord convicts hearts. That's not our job. Our job is just to deliver the information, and what you do with it is between you and the Lord. So that's what I'm here for. I do want to offer this. If you are interested in any business development or you need help, I do have Carter Business Development, and you can again reach me at faithandpolitics504@gmail.com. I do outreach for business organizations, government. Clearly, I did it for the city of New Orleans for 3 years, and so I really like to help those who are in need, and especially if the Lord calls us to work together, then I'm 10 toes down to make sure that your business gets what you need. I do have an administrative anointing, and so it just is what it is. I do what the Lord requires. So let's jump into what we're going to talk about today, because y'all, when I was praying and I was like, Lord, what are we going to call this show? He said transition. And part of it is because the transition report from the Cantrell administration to the mayor-elect administration just came through, I guess, Tuesday last week. And so they went through that, and you saw Mayor-elect Moreno come out on Sunday and deliver a message saying that New Orleans had a $222 million deficit for 2026. Hold up, wait a minute. So y'all know we've been talking about $160 million deficit. Well, the $160 million deficit was for 2025. Now, the budget that needs to be adopted has to be adopted by Monday, December 1st. And so what we've just found out as a city, that we're already in a deficit of $222 million. Now, I do not even take lightly the 222. That's prophetic too, and that's a whole nother conversation. But you have to look at this through spiritual eyes. And a lot of my conversation is for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. I do break it down so, everyone can get it, but you need to know that this is a spiritual thing that we're dealing with in the city of New Orleans. We didn't listen quite well during Katrina and get our mind right and really start walking with the Lord. And, here we go again. So, with this, reckoning comes before reset. So New Orleans will see a revival. What that time frame looks like, I do not know. We need to get our mind right, but reckoning comes before a reset. And so that's what we're getting right now. We're getting our reckoning. And the Lord said we were going through a cleanse period, and here we are going through a cleanse. And so what I really want, and actually before I go into all of the city information, I do want to deliver this for the spiritual side before we hit the business. When I'm talking about the cleanse, it's not just politics. It is literally from the top down. I mean your family, your friends, your coworkers, your jobs, your businesses around the city, systems in the city, education, uh, everything, finances, everything. We are seeing a cleanse in the city of New Orleans. And so if you are holding on to something that is in the past and the Lord is trying to readjust where you are in life, if you are being called, because called and chosen are two different things. And a lot of people say, oh, I'm chosen, I'm chosen, I'm chosen, when you were just called. Because you can be called, but if you don't choose the Lord and start walking with him, you're not chosen. You may have giftings, but that does not mean you were chosen. So, there are different levels to that. And so I really see a lot of that in New Orleans, where they have a lot of people who are called. They have a lot of people who have giftings, but they have not surrendered to the Lord, because New Orleans is dealing with a lot of pride. New Orleans is dealing with a lot of pride. I did not know I was going here, but it is what it is. New Orleans is dealing with a lot of pride. We're dealing with a lot of like the spirit of Jezebel as well, and the spirit of Absalom. So Absalom was David's son, and long story short, he was kind of judgment for the stuff that David did, but he was a loving backstabber. So he backstabbed his own father. So those are some things that New Orleanians are dealing with from the top down. And so Leviathan was a spirit of pride, arrogance. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of twisting of the words. So, you may say something and someone may twist your words and they may repeat something back. And you're like, well, that's not what I said. Well, they're dealing with pride. And so they can't even hear you correctly because of the pride that is going on. And so there is generational pride that is breaking in the city of New Orleans. And so here's the deal with pride. Pride is Leviathan is the spirit, or the principality, I should say, because it's not just a spirit, is a principality that Job dealt with in the book of Job. So if you want to go read Job, that'll give you a better understanding. But pride is not something that we can just deal with by ourselves. Pride is something that we have to yield to the Lord, and he has to help walk us through that deliverance. Everyone can receive deliverance, but you have to, number one, acknowledge you need it. You have to repent and tell God you're sorry, and then you have to yield to him and have the Lord walk you through the process. And so if you read the book of Job, I encourage you to do that, especially if you're suffering with pride, which I would say 100% of New Orleans is, because it has been a generational thing for so long, and it is hitting people in the face right now, and people just don't want to acknowledge it because they're prideful. And so they're not yielding, and they're causing confusion and a lot of drama in relationships. We see it all over online, and it's really just sad, but it is what it is. And so when you have eyes to see, you can see what it is. Don't let people have you pop off or something, because they're looking to argue. People are looking for arguments, and you just need to stand in who you are and just don't go for it. Now, Jezebel is like the queen of heaven, Mary, like all of that. I can go into the details of it, but I'm just going to go into the specifics, characteristics that you'll see. It's a lot of manipulation, domination, control, intimidation, and it's not a male or female thing. I know they use the name of it sounds like a female, but you honestly see a lot of it in the church. People try to dominate you, intimidate you. I was going to have the prophecy go live, but I just started to say it, so that's why the speaker was on. But you have a lot of you see a lot of Jezebel in the church, but you see a lot in families too, where the one person is dominating the other, and it's really sad, because it's supposed to be a covenant with the Lord. That's how our families are supposed to look, and it's just not happening that way. So the Lord is reordering, and he's highlighting these people. And so when you mix Jezebel and Leviathan, you get your narcissist. And so people, that's a lot of what you see as well. The Lord is putting these narcissists on blast and putting it in front of your eyes. Like, Do you see this? Unfortunately, they do have a lot of people with scales on their eyes. And so you may put something in their face and they just can't see it. And then, later they have that aha moment of, I can't believe. Well, that's because you were kind of spiritually blinded, because a lot of people do witchcraft on people. It's the truth. It happens in New Orleans. And so, unfortunately, it is what it is. But the Lord is here with the judgment and cleanse to wipe it out for those who need to go on their walk. So, a lot of these systems are coming down so we can see and we can do better. And that's why, even with regard to our politicians, because there is an altar of this. Well, let me hit Absalom. Like I said earlier, Absalom is the son of King David. And so you have a lot of loving backstabbers. So look at the people who are around you. You'll have a lot of monitoring spirits, people who want to know all your business. But why do they need to know all your business? Are you cool like that? And what are they doing with all of your business? Are they sharing it? And is it to help you or to harm you? I put out a couple warfare prayers a couple days ago, so I encourage you to go in my past post. And the front post, the title post was that removal prayer is like a Rico sweep, and it really is. And so I encourage you right now to do those Rico sweeps in your life, to remove people. Lord, please remove anyone in my life or who I have a connection with who is not in your will, who is not of my highest and greatest good. Please remove them from my life with grace and mercy. And in Jesus' name. And so we really need to be praying these prayers to remove the people from around us who are not of our highest and greatest good with the Lord, and who will align in our steps, because they will just delay you, and they will just really kind of cause confusion and delusion in your life. And so what does the enemy come for? They come to steal, kill, and destroy. So they're coming to steal your destiny, kill you, literally, like unalive you, make you not here on this earth. And so steal your time, things you cannot get back. We don't always look at it like that, but they will come steal your time and delay you. And then you may miss an opportunity. And so you have to go through a season for a whole nother time. And it may be like you're dating the same people. You're like, why do I keep dating the same person but in a different body? Well, that's why, because the spirit has just switched to a different body. We are vessels, right? And so what spirit are you in? There's only two teams in the world. There's Team Jesus and Team Satan. So which one are you rocking with? There's God and the devil. So it is what it is. And if you're not rocking with Team God, you're choosing to be ignorant, and ignorant means a lack of information. You're choosing to be ignorant, and therefore you're defaulting to Team Satan. It is what it is. There's only two teams. And so I encourage you to choose one. And so with that, I shout out my shirt today to a World Envision. This is one of their early shirts, but they got a deal to do artwork and a collab with the New Orleans Saints. So shout out to them. Because I will say this, those who are walking with the Lord are going to be moving up in this season. And those who did not choose God are about to have calamity after calamity after calamity, and just have drama in their lives. And so you'll be able to see the people who didn't choose the Lord, because they're just going to have drama in their lives. And so what I would say is peep game and move accordingly, because it's not going to be productive for you. So the Lord is removing and replacing people in your lives. He's pulling you into Him so that you can connect with Him and get direct information. You don't need to be getting your information from everybody else. If you need an inspiring word, maybe listen to a sermon, listen to, get a good playlist of your gospel music, and really tap in and clean your filter so that you can hear from the Lord clearly for yourselves, because that's the season that we're in. It's a separation season, and He is taking His people, and you're going to new levels. You're about to see great things in your life. I know it doesn't feel like it right this second, because the pressure is on. God is testing us to see if we're going to break, and if you really are able to walk in this next season. Because when you move up to new seasons, you get new devils. It just is what it is. So if you can pass these testings right now and humble yourself, you're really going to see a lot of blessings coming. Actually, some of them may not even wait till 26. You're going to see it at the end of 25 going into 26. So, stay the course, y'all. We got this. Because reckoning comes before reset. So the reset's coming, but the reckoning is here for those who are not doing the Lord's will. So sometimes you just got to let them go and see them for who they are. So we are going to jump into, I needed to say that. The Lord had me say that. I really need to say that. So we are going to kind of jump into the reckoning that is happening in the city of New Orleans. I do want to hit that there was a letter to an editor in NOLA.com that was very interesting. I feel like a lot of the scales are falling off of the residents' eyes, because after I read this letter, I was like, yes, New Orleans, yes. So I was really excited about that. We're also going to jump into the transition report. I'm going to break it down, the report that came from the current administration that's going to our future administration. And so they got to see what's going on in every department. And this is going to be eye-opening. Like, trust me, it was like, oh. And then the budget deficit, which is approximately $222 million. And that is what our mayor-elect broke down to us on Sunday evening when she dropped that. And I do not believe that 222 million was just a number that came out of nowhere. Look kind of how prophetic that is. God is not playing. So we need to get our mind right. So before I get all into that, I want to give you a little of the rules. And this is in the book, Faith and Politics. Like I said, you can get it on Amazon, and the ebook will be free from November 28th to December 2nd. So check it out there. The PDF is free in my link. And of course, you can also purchase the book. It's $15. You can buy it from Cash App for me. And we're going to actually go on page 15. I'm going to read a part of the legislative authority of the city council, because if we don't know the rules to the game, then we're just watching the news, and they honestly aren't giving a lot of context. And you have to know the relationships, because our mayor-elect used to work in media, and there are friendships in different levels of print media. And so that means our newspapers. And so you're not always going to get the an independent point of view. I'll put it that way. You're going to get the friend point of view of, oh, this was inherited. They keep saying that this deficit was inherited, and while from mayor to mayor, yes, but you cannot say that you didn't have any part of it when you were a city council member for the past 8 years. And you weren't just any city council member, you were an at-large member, which means you were either president or vice president of the city council. Of the past 8 years, 4 of the years you were president, and for another 4 years you were vice president. So you had some input, and you had you have to own this. This is reaping season, and you reap what you sow. And so if this is your first time on here, you will know that, like I said, it's the cleanse season, and we are reaping what we've sown. And so in this past election, the Lord had me run for mayor, and it was really a clarion call to say, hey, y'all, this is not what we want. This is not what the city of New Orleans needs. But the city of New Orleans asked for a king, and so the Lord gave them Saul. And so that's what we have. And if y'all know the story of Saul, they were overtaxed, overworked, and their lives were miserable. So that's what we're living through, right? Or we just began to live through. We're about to live through it for the next couple years in this transition, because that's what episode 28 is. So on page 15, I describe what authority the city council has. So I'm going to move to the third section, and it says the city council is responsible for overseeing the operations of the city's executive departments. Let me repeat that. The city council is responsible for overseeing the operations of the city's executive departments. While the mayor and the chief administrative officer, the CAO, directly manage day-to-day operations, the city council monitors the effectiveness of these departments through hearings, reports, and inquiries. Council members often hold public hearings where department heads or officials may be asked to explain how their respective departments are functioning, how budgets are being allocated, and how policies are being implemented. Now, why is this important? Well, this is important because the city council has oversight authority. And so for these past 8 years, there have not been using their oversight authority properly. And so by law, their job is oversight. And so when they went to when the city council went to the state asking for the $125 million approval for the bonds, the state was the ones who were like, well, hey, we have to put all these guardrails on this money because the people who are now elected were actually the people who were there creating the problem. Like, you were not handling your portion of your job by law per the city charter, which is oversight. So you see a lot of finger pointing right now, but it is what it is. There was a lack of oversight. We all knew that the current mayoral administration had issues. Like, the residents did a whole recall, and we said, hey, pay attention, we have issues. Well, none of the city council members, stood up with us. It is what it is. And so they didn't stand up with us. They also did not do inquiries, which is by law their job. They have the ability to call any department in and say, hey, Department ABC, what's going on? How is your budget happening? And we know that they can do it because they did it in September. And so the question is, why didn't they do it in January, right? The same thing they did in September, they could have done in January. And so today was the first day in the press conference that they actually said that. They said that the CFO, which is the chief financial officer, and the CAO were at odds. And so they were like, oh, the CFO wasn't loud enough. If you're going to be a whistleblower, you should be loud enough. What are you talking about? She told you. Like, the fact that they are taking zero accountability is just showing me their level of spiritual oppression, to be perfectly honest. That's really what it's showing me, the level of spiritual oppression. I was like, how aren't you taking any accountability for the state of the city? And you're still elected, which is like, gives me even more pause, because I'm like, y'all, we must educate ourselves on the process, because they are not going to tell us the truth. Like, 100% not going to tell us the truth. So we must know the rules of the game so that we can be efficient residents and hold them accountable, and organize and be united during these next couple of years and into the future, because they are not going to give us the truth. And so we just really need to make sure that we are educated on how the city runs, because they're not going to gaslight anymore. Tell the truth, shame the devil. So I encourage each and every one of you to get the book. Like I said, the PDF is free. The ebook will be free from November 28th till December 2nd online on Amazon. You can purchase the book on Amazon, or you can purchase the book from me. We will have pre-orders now, because there will be a December meetup. If you're interested in coming to the meetup, please order your book from me now, so I can make sure I have a book in hand for you. And you can purchase the book Cash App, Faith in Politics. I had a couple people ask me, so that was the easiest way I could do it for everyone. Cash App, it's $15, and it's Faith in Politics. And I'm going to do a big pre-order bundle group, and then have all the books there at the meetup for everyone to get. So make sure you do that, because it's very, very important. So with that being said, so now you have a little bit of background as to, by law, the powers of the city council. So with that being said, there was a letter to the editor in NOLA.com that I want to read for each and every one of you, because it gave me a little hope that I'm like, okay, New Orleans residents are starting to see the light, like the bewitching, like that's what I call it. Cause I'm like, how do y'all keep believing these people? I just feel like it's starting to break off, and people are starting to see the truth for what it is. So a resident wrote this, and he wrote, New Orleans is at an extreme crisis, essentially bankrupt in financing, leadership, and management. City council members and the city's chief administrative officer revealed in October that the city did not have money for payroll for the end of the year. This cash crisis reportedly arose from burning through nearly $200 million in reserve funds due to the city's failure to budget for overtime. The city council members claimed they were blindsided. However, the fault lies with the city council that is legally responsible for setting and overseeing the city's budget and spending. Instead, the council scrambled to borrow from Peter to pay Paul, even though the city cannot repay Peter. Some city leaders and managers want to blame others. Ultimately, the fault lies with the city's elected and management personnel. The New Orleans citizens are not responsible for and should not pay for this awful and unnecessary deficit created by the city's incompetence. Instead, in the short term, The city's elected leadership and senior management are responsible for these errors, and they should be either fired, furloughed, or work without pay until the city establishes a proper and reliable financial system. In the long term, the city's charter should be revoked and replaced with a balanced, responsible administration subject to intensive, independent inspection and supervision that the citizens do not have to pay for the failures of our leadership and management. And this letter to the editor was written by Thomas Wagner, a resident of New Orleans. So shout out to Thomas Wagner for telling the truth and shaming the devil. It is the first time that I have, seen the newspaper, and this was on NOLA.com. So this was the first time that I saw the newspaper actually give an independent point of view and actually hold the city council accountable. Because we just haven't seen that, honestly. I've seen a lot of gaslighting, a lot of, oh, they've inherited this. Oh, it's not their fault. Oh, there's a lot of finger pointing. But I'm like, no, there's checks and balances. And so if one portion of the government isn't doing something, that's why we have the other branch, the executive branch and the legislative branch. So the mayor is a part of the executive branch. The city council is the legislative branch. They are checks and balances. And when they work properly, we do not find ourselves in this situation. So while the mayor did do the city a god awful situation, put us in a god awful situation, the legislative branch should have checked it way before now. When we did the recall, like, why did they not speak? They could have started speaking up in 2022 with regard to this, right? And so they did not, unfortunately. So we did the recall. They could have begun to do, pay more attention and started pulling departments in. We said that safety and permits needed attention in 2022. We were talking about the Department of Public Works. The Department of Public Works is speaking now about the retaliation that they had in their offices. But we've said this for years. The residents have been speaking up. So, it's reaping season. You didn't pay attention to us now, so now you have to pay attention to us. And the whole city is going to be feeling it for years. The administrative auditor came on and he said he believes he sees this as maybe a 3 to 4 year transition process, to make sure we can get really balance it and get out of this hole. The Moreno administration says she believes it can happen faster than that. We love New Orleans and we would love for it to happen faster than that. But I do have to let you understand that this is not just a physical thing. This is a spiritual thing. And so if we want our city back in a working order, we need to do both. We need to make sure that we walk the walk and talk the talk. And for talk the talk, I mean pray. We need to pray these things away. There was also a post I put by Pastor YPJ, and shout out to him. He was in DC for a convention about a week ago. And so they started putting out clips about it. And they were talking about lying and the spiritual warfare that is going on in government. And so people cannot think that New Orleans is immune to that. It is absolutely happening here. And while these may be your favorite people, how do you think the devil comes with horns? No, the devil comes as your favorite people. And that's how he works through people. God works through people. The devil works through people. And so, yes, he works through your politicians as well. So your politicians can be on Team Jesus or they can be on Team Satan. It just is what it is. And so right now we have had an altar over the city of New Orleans that has not been Team Jesus. And so that's why we have seen all of the calamities, and we will continue to see that until we break through it. And so that's just what it is for New Orleans. And so we need to get our mind right if we want something better. So last week, the current administration, the Cantrell administration, delivered a 442-page transition report to the new transition team, because New Orleans is in transition from one administration to the next. So I'm going to read to you. I went through it, and so I kind of broke it down for you because, like I said, it's 442 pages. I did not read the entire report, but I'm going to give you the highlights of it because we really need to know what's going on in the state of the city because it is not good. And so when we know the truth, we can walk in truth and we can do better. So the transition report challenges facing the incoming Moreno administration. Number one, there is a $222 million expected 2026 budget deficit. Yes, $222 million budget deficit for 2026. Now, you've been hearing that $160 million number. You're like, why did it change? Well, the $160 million deficit was for 2025. That's what we're currently in. Now we're talking about next year. So yes, there's already a larger deficit for next year's budget. So there's going to be a lot going on. So Mayor-elect Moreno is struggling with staffing shortages, aging infrastructure, outdated technology, and financial constraints, according to a 442-page transition report prepared for her team by the current administration. The transition report outlines operational challenges and immediate decisions Moreno must make when she takes office January 12th, 2026. While she prepares a 2026 budget proposal expected to include over $200 plus million in cuts, departmental restructuring, and fewer unclassified staff. The budget framework is expected in the coming days and must be approved by December 1st. And that, y'all, that is Monday. So it is right around the corner. So the key findings from the transition report were staffing shortages. Many departments can't meet service demand due to understaffing. The EMS, which is our emergency medical service, is operating with only 60% of needed staff, and overtime limits have cut ambulance support. Y'all don't get hurt in the city of New Orleans. Code enforcement needs 20 to 30 additional staff to reach full capacity. Library officials say that the requirement to live in Orleans Parish is making hiring difficult compared to Jefferson Parish. And the IT recommends adding technical positions to reduce reliance on contractors. So next, the aging infrastructure and outdated tech. So city facilities and vehicles need major repairs and replacement. The fire department warns that lack of new fire trucks could hurt the city's fire protection rating and raise residents' insurance costs. My God. Slow and cumbersome procurement processes are delaying critical purchases, and software systems lack integration, blocking full financial visibility. The next section was the financial strain and proposed reorganization. So they are suggesting that departments warn that the budget cuts will reduce services, including demolitions, youth programs, and code enforcement. Reduced federal grant revenue is impacting staffing and programming. Suggestions include reestablishing a grants department, creating a Department of Human Services, building a cyber security team. Now, y'all remember that we had the cyber attack. And so New Orleans cannot forget that that happened, because it was a real problem. And so I was in city government and I worked for the mayor's office when we had the cyber attack. And let me tell you, it's not something that you want to live through again. And so we really need to beef up our cyber security for the city of New Orleans, because we cannot be susceptible of that again. It is just not what's up. And that's coming from a city employee who lived through it. We need to, the transition goes on to say that we need to form a new economic development corporation, and that improving across department collaboration is vital for city services. So that is a breakdown of the transition report that the mayor, Mayor Cantrell's team delivered to Helena Moreno's transition team. And so with you see what's going on there, that does not seem very hopeful. It just is what it is. It's like kind of a short state of the city. Yeah. And so there's a lot of tightening that is coming up. And so with that, you see what's going on in New Orleans. You see why the transition is, what these transitions are happening, and what this cleansing process actually looks like. So with that being the case, I'm going to now go into the key points of Helena Moreno's or her transition response to that. So on Sunday, after kind of going through that and sitting with her transition team, she delivered a message to the residents of New Orleans that, look, we are about to have a $222 million deficit for 2026, and it's about to be ugly. Like, it is what it is. And so they had a special meeting this morning in City Hall. And so, again, if you ever miss any council meetings, you can always catch up. Hey, y'all on TikTok, you can always catch up with them on YouTube at NOLA City Council, at NOLA City Council. I want to make sure you know where you can always catch up and get information if you miss it, because I don't want you to miss anything and I want you to be connected. So you can always get information there, as well as you can go on council.nola.gov, council.nola.gov. That is the website for our legislative branch. Now, remember, we have an executive branch, and so the executive branch is nola.gov. NOLA.gov. You can get to both of those from NOLA.gov, but a lot of times it's hard to maybe find the city council information. And so you can go right there on council.NOLA.gov. So there's two websites, NOLA.gov and council.NOLA.gov. And so that's the executive and the legislative branches. So I want you to know where you can get the information and where you can follow along. And on both of those, you can subscribe to their email blast and their press releases. So you don't always have to go searching for information. The information can come to you. It's really important that we do that, because y'all, it's going to be going down for these next couple years, and we have got to be involved. And so buckle up, because I'm about to tell you and give you the breakdown of what the Mayor-elect Moreno gave us today, and it is not fun. So New Orleans is going to be in a transition of cleanse, and buckle up, because here it is. So Mayor-elect Helena Moreno releases revised spending plan amid a $222 million deficit for 2026. So the total budget they are saying for 2026 is going to be $801 million general fund spend for 2026. And so, y'all, let me just give you an example. So in 2025, the general fund spend was $878 million. So it is a projected revenue drop. So we will see a revenue drop in New Orleans in 2026, and that is in addition to the deficit. So we're going to be taking in less revenue and have a budget deficit. Hold on to your pearls, clutch them. Yes, it's getting real in New Orleans. So the priorities that the Moreno administration say is public safety. That's what they always say. NOPD, NOFD, which is our fire department, the EMS, and the jail. And so they say that is going to be what is going to be fully funded, as well as our essential services of sanitation and health. So they're saying those are going to be the things that are going to be fully funded. The major cost saving measures that they are looking at right now is going to be $150 million in reductions and restructuring. So they're going to have to shut down offices, pull them under departments. It's crazy. I said this during the election cycle, but it's going to really have to happen in more tightening ways than we thought. So 36 unclassified positions will be eliminated. 62, now these are approximate, so maybe 30, 34, 35, 36, 37. So 36 unclassified positions eliminated. And so unclassified positions are generally mayoral positions. So that means her team is going to be smaller and they're going to be overworked. What do we say about Saul? Overworked, overtaxed, miserable. So her team will be, I know what I was like when I worked there, and we felt like we were overworked. So I cannot imagine it being shut down, not shut down, but 36 more unclassified positions being eliminated. There will also be approximately 62 probationary employees that will be laid off. And so probationary employees are people who have been working for the city for 1 year or less. So that's your probationary period. So you will not have a job. If you have been working for the city of New Orleans for 1 year or less, your job is being eliminated. In addition to that, 724 employees will be furloughed. Now, when I worked at the city of New Orleans, we were furloughed during COVID, and that was not fun. It was very uncomfortable, to be perfectly honest. And so 724 employees will be furloughed, and their furlough is going to be a 1 day each payday that they will not be paid. And so that is what the furlough is going to look like for 724 employees, as well as a hiring freeze. So there will be a hiring freeze on 134 vacancies in the city of New Orleans. So that total payroll savings will be $28 million. So I'm going to go over that really quickly because this is cost saving measures that they have done with employment and with the employees and with the workforce in the city of New Orleans. So 150 million in reductions and restructuring. That is approximately 36 unclassified positions will be eliminated. Approximately 62 probationary employees will be laid off. Approximately 724 employees will be furloughed, and that is 1 day each pay period. And a hiring freeze on another 134 vacancies, and that'll be a total payroll savings of $28 million. So there will be a lot of discomfort and a lot of changes going on in our city government, and it will be downsized. It is what it is. So we're going to jump into the department restructuring that the Helena Moreno transition team is stating that will be happening. And so this is something a lot of people didn't know, but I need to put it to the forefront so it will not be a shocker when it gets more airtime. The Mayor's Office of Youth and Families will be absorbed into the Health Department. Full stop. The Mayor's Office of Youth and Families will be absorbed by the Health Department. So if you all don't know, when this current mayor took office, that was actually one of the offices she created. It was the first thing she did was create the Mayor's Office of Youth and Families. And so many people have really enjoyed that office and the benefits that it brought, but it will be absorbed by the Health Department. And the Health Department is actually one of the departments that is in the city charter, which is why it will be absorbed there. So it's important information that you know that. And so guess where that information is? It's all in the book. And so when you understand the chartered departments and why things are going to be absorbed into certain departments, it is because they are chartered into our city charter. The offices of the mayor are not chartered departments. They can be removed and replaced easily from mayor to mayor, is what you see. This last administration created it, and this new administration is eliminating it. So it had a lifespan of 8 years, and it will be absorbed into the Health Department. What else will be absorbed is the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice Coordination. Now, this office was supposed to make sure that all of the criminal justice offices worked well together. In short, the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice Coordination, it will be split. Half of it will be going under the Health Department, which I said is a chartered department, and the other half will be going under Public Safety. So it did not say specifically if it was NOPD or anything like that, but how they're going to structure it, we'll probably get into more specifics. But it said the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice Coordination will be split between the Health Department and Public Safety Departments. So there will be no more Office of Criminal Justice Coordination in the city of New Orleans, as well as the 11 consent decree positions have been cut, and that is because the consent decree is being terminated. So that is one that isn't really necessarily a surprise, but 11 positions that were dealing with the consent decree will be eliminated as well. So I'm going to give you a rundown on that again. The department restructuring, the Mayor's Office of Youth and Families will be absorbed by the Health Department. The Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice and Coordination will be absorbed and split between the Health and Public Safety Departments. And 11 consent decree positions are being cut after the consent decree termination. So that is what's going on there. The next reorganization is going to be revenue and collections. Whew, y'all ready for this? Because it is going down. So projected in 2026 revenue, 725 million plus 76 million in other funds. So that is the projected revenue for the city of New Orleans, and that is less than 2025. So yes, $801 million, but that is less than the $875 million that they had in 2025. So we are pulling in less money in 2026 expected than we are in 2025, and we already have a deficit. So it is not looking good for the home team. It looks like ouch. They are negotiating $32 million from Sewage and Water Board. Like they said, Sewage and Water Board owed us about $80 million approximately. And so they are negotiating for them to give us 32 million of that back. It does not necessarily say if it's in one lump sum or in pieces, but that's what's being negotiated now. They are looking for money everywhere. $14.7 million of the ARPA funds. Plus the $17 million from the Wisner Trust funds. They're looking into that. Y'all know that there was back and forth with the Wisner Fund and, who does what. And it was in court for so long. So they're looking to get $17 million from the Wisner Trust funds as well. And here's the part where New Orleanians are not going to like. And I was like, when they said it in the press conference, I was like, oh, New Orleans, you need to know about this because the block is going to be hot. And I do not say that in a joking way. I mean that in a very literal way. They're about to beef up parking enforcement. So the block is really going to be hot. You cannot park any kind of way that you ever, like if you got used to just parking any kind of way, you can't do it. They're going to be on you like rice, like white on rice. And here's why. They're looking to downsize New Orleans in all of these ways. But guess what? They're looking to add positions. Parking meter maids. They are looking to increase it by 50 people. Yes, they are looking for 50 new officers to work in parking enforcement. So they're going to expand that so they make sure that they can nickel and dime us to death. Remember what I said about Saul? Overworked, overtaxed, miserable. It wasn't a joke. It's just crazy to see how it plays out when like God gives you say, hey, this is what's going to happen. And then it really starts happening. It's nuts. So they're going to be ticketing us to death. If you have an unpaid ticket, I'm sure they'll be going after your license or any other way that they can try to make people pay stuff. So the parking enforcement is going to be expanded in the city of New Orleans, and they are looking for 50 more plus officers, and they are looking for a potential $7 million coming out the pockets of residents of the city of New Orleans. So when I say the block is hot, I legit mean the block is hot. And in addition to that, if you had any unpaid tickets, they are coming for you for collections. They are looking for an expected or projected, I should say, another $5 million to come out of unpaid tickets. So they're going to be ramping up collections, knocking on your doors and doing anything they can to get this money out of your pocket. So just know what is up and what's going on. They are also exploring a new $20 Mardi Gras crew rider fee. So if you participate in any Mardi Gras parades, they are looking for this to be established in 2026, not like in the next year, like this year coming up, like in a couple months. Yes, they're looking for an extra $20 from each rider to do, I believe, like sanitation fees and to clean up, because we have been really, the city has been taking a hit with regard to sanitation for a lot of years. There hasn't been an increase since 2011, but you haven't had an increase since 2011, but you downside the services, but the cost for the services have increased. So we understand, but it's hard to ask people for more money when you took services away from them. So it's going to be a hard sell. In addition to this, y'all not even going to be ready. They want to increase the sanitation fees. Like I said, it hasn't been changed since 2021. They're looking for a $24 monthly sanitation fee to be increased. So they're going to be looking to increase sanitation fees while our service for sanitation has gone down to 1 day a week pickup. So that will be a hard sell for the residents. So how they're going to do that, I don't know. They'll probably package it with a little medicine so you can take it down. So you can take the medicine down a little bit easier, but it is what it is. And so these are some other reductions that are becoming, and I know the residents aren't going to love them, but it's what's going to happen. So other reductions is going to be a $740,000 cut from our Pathways Youth Internship Program. There is going to be another $400,000 cut from evening reporting center and another 75% travel reduction, which is approximately $500,000. So I know we don't really care that much about that. You're like, oh, they don't need to be going anywhere either. They need to be working. And so remember all that time residents were like, let the mayor live, let her travel, whatever. Well, she should have been here, helping figure this out. And then the city council should have been having oversight and calling these departments in and saying, hey, what's going on? And making sure that Peter and Paul were meeting and none of them were doing their jobs. So, they all need to be held accountable. And so last but not least, a $4.6 million from different agencies' savings accounts that they are looking for. So that's what's going on. The reductions. I'm going to give you that short version as well. Revenue and collections projected 2026 revenue is $801 million. That is $725 million plus $76 million in other funds. Negotiating $32 million from Sewage and Water Board. $14.7 million ARPA funds plus $17 million in Wisner Trust funds. They're looking to ramp up parking enforcement, adding 50 more officers with a potential $7 million. They're going to dig in on unpaid ticket collections, projecting another $5 million. They're exploring a $20 Mardi Gras rider fee, which will probably take effect in 2026. And they're also considering increasing your sanitation fees and $740,000 cut from the Pathways Youth Internship Program, another $400,000 cut from the Evening Reporting Center, and 75% travel reduction across the city, and a $4.6 million from agencies savings from different agencies across the city. So what is next now that you know a lot of those numbers? I know a lot of it just may come across like, but you really need to know that. You need to know what is going on in your city and how the money is being spent and how they're budgeting or not budgeting, because they weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. And now your city services are being cut. And so why has it been important all these years when I've been speaking up, people like, why is she talking? That's a Black woman or this is a woman. I'm like, it doesn't matter who's in there, purple, green, and gold. These are your city dollars, your tax dollars, and this is how it's being spent. And because they weren't spending and paying attention to how they were being spent, now it's going to hurt you in your pockets. And now they're coming after you in your parking fees. Like I said, the block is hot is legit hot. Like, do not be parking anywhere. And it's going to hurt. And so what's next? The budget is due. The 2026 budget is due on Monday, December 1st. December 1st is the 2026 budget is due. And the Moreno administration is going to be letting us know and announcing her leadership team on Tuesday, December 2nd. So look out for those dates to see what's going on, because New Orleans is going to be a hot I don't want to say a hot mess, but a hotbed of information. I will say that for days and weeks to come. And the state revenue proposals are coming in the 2026 legislature. So that is what's going on in the city of New Orleans. It may sound grim, and it is going to be tightening up, because the transition for New Orleans is here. That's what episode 38, that's what I named it, transition, because we are in it. We are legit in the transition. Somebody asked, where did the money go? How was 2024 okay, but not 2025? What was happening is there was a lot of funds from the COVID relief and one-time money that came in. And so they were able to rob Peter and pay Paul and not really announce it to the residents. Now, here's my thing. Our city council has been city council for at least this group for 4 years. So you were here through all of this. So how did you not know? You're getting monthly reports. Were you just not reading the reports? Like, what was going on? What were you not doing? And so just to give you a little explanation with regard to that, for an example, with regard to NOPD. So NOPD was they kept saying that they were overfunded, but they weren't really overfunded. On paper, it looked like they had too much money, but what they were doing was they were using the overtime and replacing that money with it. So while this money may have been budgeted for A, B, and C, that they did not per se use, the money was used because they had under budgeted overtime. So while it looked like you didn't have these positions filled, and so this money wasn't, budgeted, it was actually still being used for overtime. So what happened in 2025 is they actually right-sized the budget. So they said, "Oh, you're not using this money on paper? Okay, bet. We're going to lower your budget." But in actuality, they needed that money because they were using it for overtime. So basically, they got caught with their pants down for not budgeting correctly. And the city council did not have oversight properly over all of these departments and call them into the table and say, "Hey, how are you using your money?" So when the CFO and the CAO were fighting and arguing, and one was saying this and the other one was saying this, the city council should have used their oversight authority to do investigations. Let me give you an example. They did investigations for the mayor's office of communications when they did that flyer, right? And they didn't want, the communications department didn't want them to know, where they got the money from and who did that and the other. But the city council has investigative authority per law. So they can, ask for paperwork, they can ask for emails, they can ask for your text messages, they can do all of that. But the thing is, they did it for the communications department, but they did not do that for the CAO and the CFO with regard to the city's budget. Why would you not do it? You have investigative authority. It's your responsibility by law. So the administration, while the CFO was ringing the alarm and saying, "Hey, hey, hey," she still had a boss, which was her CAO and the mayor. So she was ringing the alarm, but they were like, "You didn't ring it loud enough." Well, how loud does you want her to do it without, just basically a retaliatory of losing her job? Because that's what was happening to people who were speaking out. They were losing their jobs. You saw people lose their job in code enforcement for speaking out. You saw people who were losing their jobs in different departments for speaking out. And so she was trying to stay there and speak up, but there's only so much you can do when you need, somebody of a higher elected position who can't just lose their job to help you. And so I believe that she was in like a catch-22 situation, and the city council is now saying, "Hey, you didn't speak up loud enough." Well, hey, city council, you didn't do your job that we elected you to do. But you know what? They're never going to say that. They're not going to say that. Now, it would honestly break a lot of the strongholds over the city of New Orleans if they did, if they repented and said, "Hey, residents, we're sorry for not catching this," and being, fully transparent and honest with us. But unfortunately, we see that they're continuing with the gaslighting and the finger pointing. You can't at this point, you can't gaslight us and say you didn't know. You were there for 8 years, the current mayor elect. And so in our city council members, some of them now, you were there for 4 years. Like, and it's not just, JP Morrell was on leadership, but you had Leslie Harris, who was on the budget committee. You had Oliver Thomas, who was on the budget committee. You had Joe Giarrusso, who was, over the budget. He was over that committee. And so all of these people have a piece of this, and you cannot just act like you weren't there. You were there. You were supposed to be representing us, and you were supposed to be paying attention to the budget. So it is what it is, what it is. Own your piece and take accountability and do something different. But I don't see any of them, owning it and taking responsibility for it. I see them all just finger pointing, which just makes me sad for the residents of the city of New Orleans, because I'm like, the leadership is still trying to give us the okie doke and lie to us. And, I look at it through a natural way, and I look at it through a spiritual way. And I'm just like, until you yield and tell us the truth, we are going to keep going through this drama. And so that's the state of New Orleans. And it's crazy because that was one of the things when I ran on my platform. I said I wanted to give a 90-day state of the city. And so we're getting it now. We're getting it in the cleanse. They were forced to give it to us. Nobody wanted to give us this information. And be so transparent, but they are required to at this point because of the deficit. And you can't rob Peter to pay Paul. Y'all know if they could rob Peter to pay Paul, that they would not be telling us this right now. If they could just make it work, they would not have told us any of this was happening. And so I think that is the blessing for us, that, the reckoning had to come where they had to be transparent and tell us. And the state auditor will be in the city of New Orleans as Senator Cameron said, camped out. He will be camped out in City Hall for quite a while, and not just for a couple months, for years, because when they interviewed him, he was like, New Orleans, to get out of this, will be having to ask for bonds for years, like at least 1 or 2 more years. They hope it's only two, but it may be 3 or 4, depending on what this really pans out to look like. And so after listening to the press conference today, they are going to be having monthly meetings on the budget. They did have them anyway before, but I guess they weren't doing it to the level and the extent that they're doing them now. Why not? But hindsight's 2020. That's what one of our council members said. Yeah, hindsight's 2020 when we hired you to do the job. But it is what it is. We are here now, and of course, we all want New Orleans to be successful. But it's going to be a very difficult time. We need to buckle up. Because it is going to be uncomfortable. We do have Saul 2.0, switching a little bit to the spiritual before we, tap off for tonight. But we are dealing with Saul 2.0. That is a situation that the city of New Orleans is in. The people asked for a king. And the king ran on a platform of, I'm going to deliver 100 new jobs for the city of New Orleans. Well, you're already in a situation before you even take office that you're saying that you will have to eliminate more than 100 jobs. And so I just think the reaping and the sowing season came faster than they thought it was going to come. And here we are. And so they got to bite the bullet, downsize city government, and what you thought you were going to be able to skip into is not the case. And so that's why residents really, really, really need to know the rules of the game so they cannot lie to us anymore, because we have been lied to. We have been gaslit. I said this all throughout the recall. I am saying it again. I said it, during the election season. I don't just speak up because I think it's a great idea. I do it because the Lord taps me on my shoulder and says, Eileen, go say this. And so, having been born in politics and growing up under an elected official, there are certain things that, and things I can kind of see through and know, and especially having worked in the communications department for the city of New Orleans, I know what they tell us and what they don't tell us and how they craft a verbiage, and they do fluff pieces and deliver them to the media to make them look good. And now just isn't the time for it. Now is the time just to tell the residents the truth. Let us have a full understanding, and everyone needs to take accountability for their piece and be honest with the residents, because it's just not fair. And this new administration has an opportunity to press reset and to be really honest with the residents. And unfortunately, I just don't see that right now. I see a lot of finger pointing and, oh, I'm inheriting this. No, you were there for it. You have accountability in what's going on, and so that's why you are reaping what you sowed. You sowed discourse into the city with regard to this administration. While this administration perfect? Absolutely not. But was the city council perfect? Absolutely not. And so everybody needs to own their piece and move forward together, unified. And so I pray that happens. As you see, I do the spiritual takeover of the city of New Orleans to take back the block. I walk the city and I pray for the city, because we're going to break these strongholds one way or the other. It does not matter who's in office. We have dominion, and when we work together, we can really move mountains. And so that's what I'm calling everybody in the city of New Orleans to do. I'm calling you to take back your block, and from uptown to downtown, from the lake to the river, from the canal, to the ends of New Orleans. I pray that we take back our block and we spiritually do it, because we have some strongholds over the city of New Orleans that need to come down, and systems are coming down. We see it in the Catholic Church. We see it in certain churches. You have a lot of people who are leaving their churches. The time is now. The reckoning is here. The Lord is removing and replacing, and it's not going to be people that you always thought, who thought it was going to be me speaking up. I surely didn't. But when the Lord calls you and taps you, I hope you speak up in your sphere of influence, because we really need to speak up for the city of New Orleans right now, and love our city, love your families, and your friends. And I will say this before we get off, in this removing and replacing season, it is not just in politics. It is not just in business. It is not just in the systems. And when you see restaurants coming and going and all these new things happening in New Orleans, it's not just in that. It's really down on a day-to-day level, and with our family and our friends and our workplaces and our coworkers. So if the Lord is encouraging you to move on from someone, it's time to move on. Sometimes people, a reason, a season, a lifetime. Everyone is not in your life for a lifetime. Some people, it's a reason. Sometimes it's a season. And sometimes sometimes it's for you to learn something, and sometimes it's for them to learn something. But I would encourage you in this season, especially as we move into the new year, to let go of the past, to leave it in the past, with grace and mercy. No hard feelings. It's just time to turn the page and move to new chapters. But it is what it is, and that's the season that we're in. We're reaping what we sow. And so I pray that you're obedient to the Lord in whatever He's calling you to do. Align your feet and your way and your thoughts with Him, because sometimes we think we know, but I will say this: lean not on your own understanding, because the Lord is doing a lot of things that may look weird and uncomfortable to us, but is for our good, because He knows and He sees things that we can't see. And so you can get all of the information that I was talking about today in Faith and Politics. I wrote this because the Lord told me to. I did not know all of this was going to go on in New Orleans, but the Lord likes us to be educated and to understand. And so again, the PDF is free. You can get it in the link in my bio. The Kindle version ebook will be free. It's usually $9.99, but it will be free from November 28th, which is Black Friday, through December 2nd, which is Giving Tuesday. So I'm trying to give it away. I love y'all so much. I'm trying to give you this information literally. And so you can get the book for free and the ebook for free as well. I'm really excited about that because I love y'all, and I just want y'all to have the information and not get the okie doke. I just feel like we've gotten the okie doke for so long, and it's just not fair to our people, and it's just not okay the way that they've treated us. We deserve better as a city. If they're not going to do it for us, we're going to take back our city one block at a time, and with information. We're going to hold them accountable with love, but we're going to hold you accountable because you just can't treat us like this anymore. It's just not okay. And so I offer this information to you. It was a labor of love, and it's crazy. As somebody was talking to me about it, I was like, yo, I did it all by myself, like legit. Wrote the book, edited the book, uploaded it to Kindle. I did the whole book by myself. So it was definitely a labor of love. I love you, New Orleans. And this is just to make sure that everybody can be educated on the rules to the game, because if they know the rules to the game, then, they can, weasel around us. But if we know the rules to the game, then we can hold them accountable with love, but make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing for us with just, like this, the example of that the city council has oversight authority and they didn't use it. Well, they're not going to tell us that they didn't use it. But if you read the book, you know that by law, they have that ability. And so when we know better, we can do better together as a community. And it's time that we stand up unified together. And that's what Faith and Politics is all about. So I encourage you to share this with your family and friends, and just to, take back the block, literally. So if you missed the show, just to let you know and wrap up what we talked about, this was episode 38. It was transition. We talked about, of course, how you can get the book for free. We talked about the spiritual takeover of New Orleans, block by block. I also talked a little bit about my August 7th, 22 prophecy that the Lord had me deliver. I'm going to go find it and repost it so y'all can listen to it, because it is nuts to see what I said then compared to what's happening now. And you can see I had blonde hair then, so you will know that is not recent. It was August 7th, 2022. And it's crazy because I gave that prophecy before I even knew that the recall was going to happen. It is just crazy to look back, because when I delivered that, I had no idea I was going to be doing the recall. I had no idea I was going to be speaking up. I had no idea of any of this. Y'all, the Lord has you do all kind of stuff, and just give Him your yes, and it will work out. I also talked about reckoning comes before reset, and that's judgment, cleanse, and revival for the city of New Orleans. The Lord is cleansing family, friends, and systems. We read the letter to the editor, which was an eye-opener, because residents of the city of New Orleans are really starting to see different things. Oh, happy holidays to you too. And I gave a breakdown of the transition report from the Cantrell administration to the Moreno administration. And then I broke down the budget deficit and the changes and the cuts that the mayor-elect plans to have. So check out episode 38, Transition. It is a doozy. It is all the stuff you needed to know, and probably stuff you didn't really want to know that was going to happen in New Orleans. But I believe on the other side of this, New Orleans is going to see a revival. We are going to be better for it. And as we go out, I will tell you, there is a prayer second line, per se, that is going to be over Bourbon Street. It is one of the first kind of bright things that I've seen. I'm really excited about that. So when they reveal it, I will go and see it. I think they're going to open. I think they said December 1st is when they're going to announce it, but they put it out on the news. And so there's going to be like these prayer flags that are going to be hanging over Bourbon Street, and it's going to be from the 100 block to the 300 block. They're putting in an art installation, and so I was really inspired by that. So just seeing these little glimmers of hope throughout the city of New Orleans is really hopeful, because Jesus is King, and we need to start getting that right and back in order so that we can be a stronger New Orleans. We need to stop being known for witchcraft and voodoo, and all of those things, and be known about our faith and standing 10 toes down for the Lord. Because when we do better, we will see better in our city and in our community. And number one, for our youth and for our children, because that's who I do it for. I mean, I love everybody in the city of New Orleans, but our youth are going to take over the city one day. And what type of city do we want to leave them? So I offer you to really think about that as we move forward. And don't forget, the block is hot. Do not be parking anywhere, because they are trying to ticket us to death, literally. So I love you all, and I will see you on Thursday. And I know Thursday is Thanksgiving, but I think I really may pop on here with maybe a short message, not maybe the full hour, but a short message. I don't know, whatever the Lord puts on my heart, because it's important that we're grateful. So many times we complain about this, that, and the other, but do you have lights on? Do you have food on your table? Just little basic things, because everybody doesn't have the basics. And so when you're grateful for what you have, that's when the Lord gives you more. And so he's like, what are you going to do with what I give you? Like the parable of the talents. Maybe that's what I'll talk about, the parable of the talents. When I was little growing up, I grew up Catholic. I did get saved in 2015, dunked, and I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior, and did the salvation prayer, because that is important, to say it with your mouth and to receive him. And so when we are grateful for the small things he gives us, he'll give us more. And so what are you doing with your talents? So I'd like to leave you with that. What are you doing with your talents that the Lord has given you? How are you using them to make New Orleans a better place? And so I challenge you to do that. So thanks so much for tuning in, y'all. I love each and every one of you, and let's take back the city of New Orleans together. And I'm out. Y'all. Bye. And to YouTube, we are out. Thanks so much for tuning in. I love each and every one of you, and I will see y'all on Thursday.